You know what I'm talking about, right? Where you just stick to the surface questions and then all of a sudden there's crickets because the conversation is not going anywhere. So that's what we're gonna talk about today, how to go from small talk to some real talk. For more tips on how to take charge of your love life, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. It's really about sitting across from the person and truly connecting with them in a deeper way. When you're connecting, it's not just about their favorite color or what their favorite food is. It's about getting to the core of who they are beneath it all, right? Their identity, their beliefs, their worldviews. But most of us don't get there because we're not asking the right questions. We ask like, what's your favorite color? Where do you love to eat? Where do you like to hang out? That can only go so far. Eventually, people will lose interest because all you're talking about is interests. So here's my first tip. You need to practice active listening. A lot of us ask questions to just hear an answer. And it's very transactional instead of understanding the layers of their answer. For example, if someone says, hey, what is your favorite hobby? And they said, well, I love scuba diving. Rather than moving on to another subject to like, what's your favorite movie? You want to understand why they love scuba diving and what their experience was. How did they get introduced to it? What is it about scuba diving that makes them so connected to it? You see, there's layers and layers and layers within that one answer. But for most singles, I see once they get the answer, they're moving on to the next. As you're peeling back the layers, you're getting to know their personality. Is it because they love the adventure and they're very spontaneous, or they're connected to nature? What is it about that hobby that makes them so connected and so happy when they do it? Tip number 2 is to ask questions that are personally tailored to your date, right? It's about looking at their profile and understanding like they love family, they love sports, they love concerts, and getting to know them and asking them a little bit about that, or even their profession, like what drew you to be a pharmacist? What drew you to be a doctor? Like, what is it that made you become an artist? When you ask questions that are more custom tailored to that specific person, it makes them feel like you are treating them like a priority. You're paying attention to them. And that feels really nice on the other end. Tip number 3, ask questions that spark vulnerability, not only for them, but also for you. We're learning more and more in the world that vulnerability sparks a connection. Now, I'm not talking about oversharing. I'm not talking about like puking everything on someone's lap. A great question to ask to spark vulnerability is, you know, in this past year, what was the most difficult thing or difficult challenge you faced, and how did you overcome it? This question is so powerful because it will show you if a person is going to take accountability or share their stories, or they freeze up and they change the subject. Because vulnerability is about opening up and sharing like your fears and letting somebody in to see that. And if that person has a really hard time with it and you want someone that's vulnerable, it's an indicator that they may have an emotional armor up and they're not ready to be vulnerable with you. And that's okay. As you get to know them, see if they are willing to open up. However, if the person shuts down every single time you ask those type of questions, it might be a red flag that they're not willing to be vulnerable with you. So it's going to be hard to create that deep connection, right? Most singles fear getting into these deep conversations because they are fearful that they're going to be too much. But I promise you, a person that's comfortable in their own skin, that's confident in themselves, knows that we're all flawed. They know that we all go through challenges, and the fact that they're willing to share it with you shows that they're comfortable and they've done the work. So that's a good green flag indicator. And if you're struggling with answering that question, then there might be some self-reflection work that you need to do. And when it comes to vulnerability, it's important that it is like a ping pong match. You need to spoon feed the information, and you don't want to just dump everything on them, right? So you share a little bit about yourself, something that's a little scary but safe for you to share, and then you ask them the question and see what they think and what they want to share. And as you start seeing that there's vulnerability on their side, you share a little bit more, and this helps you build that deeper connection and trust, right? It's layered. Now I want to hear from you. Are you struggling with going deeper and asking questions, or Have you found a way to do it? What are your tips? Leave your questions and comments below. I do reply. And if you want to go deeper and speak to me, please go to amiethedatingcoach.com and set up a free relationship readiness review. Remember, it's never too late to take charge of your love life. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next video.